Okay, hi Laura. Thank you so much for joining me today for an interview. Do you mind starting just by introducing yourself and telling us what you study, what college you're from, things like that?
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm a first year English and French student at Christchurch.
And why did you choose Christchurch when you were applying to Oxford?
A variety of reasons, really. Firstly, the location. It's in the city centre, so it's quite close to everything, but also it didn't feel like it was in the city centre because we're right next to the Christchurch meadows, which are lovely, and I often go there for walks and things like that. Also, it's quite a big college, which means there are a lot of people, so you're more likely to find sort of the people you click with. And it's also quite a well-off college, which means there's lots of financial support, like bursaries and things like that.
And are you aware that it feels like quite a rich college? Are there lots of things which you benefit from it being a rich college?
Yeah, so a lot of the money gets put back into the students. So, for example, with the meals, those are subsidised. So it works out that we pay around £2.70 for a three-course meal every night, which is pretty good. And I'm not sure which other Oxford colleges could rival that.
Yeah, that's so good. So what kind of things do you guys get in those meals?
There's a lot of meals I like at Christchurch. I particularly like the salmon. The creme brulee is really good. What else? We have a nice roast every Sunday. There's loads of options, and also they cater for different diet options. So if you're vegetarian or vegan, I'm not, so I can't comment on that, but it does look really good.
And does everyone pretty much eat in hall together in the evenings?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the great things because it's really social and you get to catch up with people you might not have seen otherwise. So yeah.
And so that's the evening meal. How do the other meals in the day work at Christchurch?
It's more of a pay-as-you-go thing. So if you want to eat lunch in college, you can put money on your bod card and buy lunch that day. Same with breakfast. Not as many people choose to eat breakfast and lunch in hall, but it's there if you want to.
And are they as well priced as the evening meal, or are they more expensive?
I think because we have the evening meal on a termly meal ticket, that ends up being slightly cheaper, but they're still decent. So you could get lunch for £3 or £4.
And at the weekends, is there any catering?
Yeah, so at the weekend we have brunch, which is really popular because, well, it's great, but also you can bring friends from other colleges. So if I had a friend from another college, I could bring them to brunch, and you can have the breakfast and lunch options there.
And so what would be your go-to brunch order?
Probably sausages, beans, definitely hash browns, they're not to be missed. And then one of the waffles.
Yeah, no, brunch does seem like at most colleges it's the most popular meal. And there's just all the best food available at one meal.
I don't know why they don't do it every day.
Yeah. And looking back, I know it was a while ago now, but to Freshers Week, what was your favourite part about Freshers Week at Christchurch?
Probably the tutors' dinner. It was really good food, and it was quite nice to just get to know our tutors in a more social setting than academic just before we started.
So was that kind of like a formal dinner in hall, but with your tutors?
A formal dinner in hall, not black tie, just sort of smart dress code. Yeah, just a dinner.
And obviously Christchurch, probably from, I don't know, like being in Harry Potter movies and things, has got a reputation of being quite like formal and fancy. Do you have events like that quite often?
Yeah, so every night there's an informal and formal setting, but formal doesn't really mean formal. It just means you put your gown on top of whatever you're already wearing. And it just takes a bit longer. You get served by waiters and things like that. But then for formal dinners throughout the term, we have Christchurch guest dinner, which is literally amazing food. And you can bring a guest, whoever you want, to this dinner. And it's more fancy. It's black tie. So
Yeah, I've been to one of them. They're really nice.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, just going back to the evening meal, is the food exactly the same at informal and formal hall?
Yeah, it's exactly the same, but at informal you just get it on a tray and sit down. It's quicker, so if you've got work to do, that's a shout.
And what did you find hardest about settling in Freshers Week?
Oh, hard question. I suppose what everyone finds is it's just quite hard to go from an environment where you're really familiar at home and school to somewhere where you maybe don't know that many people, and there are so many changes socially, academically. So I suppose just the shock. But what I found about Christchurch is there is loads of support available, and the older years were really friendly and were happy to help freshers settle in.
And did you have lots of activities organised for you throughout Freshers Week?
Yeah, we did. So we had things like sport taster sessions, a rowing barbecue, lots of talks and things like that. Family formal. So with the college families, we had a nice dinner with them as well. I can't quite. We had ice skating, things like that.
And how does accommodation work for first years at Christchurch?
So most first years are in Blue Boar, which is an accommodation block built in the 60s. So it's got lots of concrete. It doesn't look that great from the outside, but from the inside it's really nice, and they're all en suite, which is a massive plus. And it's also quite nice that all the freshers are together because it just ends up being quite a social space. Yeah.
And so you're saying that all freshers are quite close together. Where would you spend most of your time socially in college?
Between Blue Boar and Meadows. Meadows is another accommodation block where some freshers are also put. Meadows is probably the most popular accommodation block at Christchurch, just because it's really beautiful, but I like Blue Boar equally. They have really nice window seats.
And do you have a JCR or a bar or anywhere like that to socialise?
Yeah, we do. We do have the JCR. It's actually getting refurbished this year, so I do think people will end up spending more time there because at the moment it's not used that much, but I think this year it will be. And then we also have the Undie, which is the college bar. So a lot of like before a nice dinner, we might go there, or I don't know, after guest dinner. That's quite big.
And what other events might be organised in the college bar?
In the past, we've had karaoke nights, boozy bingo. We've had a few singers come in. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but those ones are really fun.
And can you think what your favourite social event that Christchurch organised last year was?
Hard question because I really liked them all, but probably guest dinner just because it's such a nice atmosphere and the food, as you can tell, is amazing.
And does Christchurch, so obviously you've got social events like guest dinner and things like that. Do you also have welfare events for kind of, I don't know, well-being? Can you think about maybe your favourite one of those from last year?
Yeah, so our welfare reps put on quite a few events, weekly things like late night tea break, so around 10 p.m, go to the JCR and get some snacks and catch up with a few people. But in terms of special events, they put on pizza making workshop, pumpkin carving sessions. I think they were going to put on an outdoor cinema in last Trinity, but obviously COVID happened.
Yeah. And obviously for a lot of colleges, the big social event of the year is a ball. What's Christchurch's ball like?
So I haven't been because it's cancelled this year, but I'm told it's amazing. It's called Christchurch Commemoration Ball, and it happens every 3 years, I think. And it's meant to be one of the most spectacular balls in Oxford, but I will let you know next year.
And does that mean that it's quite an expensive ball?
It is quite expensive. A lot of the balls in Oxford are, but if you need to, there are sort of reductions in the ticket price if you're a Christchurch member. So I have friends who got a reduced ticket price.
And are you involved in any societies at Christchurch?
Well, I played football for college and for the uni, but also, I mean, not really. I'm in the Law Society, but not any Christchurch specific societies.
And what's football like? Have you enjoyed college football?
At Christchurch,
Yeah.
it's very chill. It's quite relaxed. The boys one is more competitive, but there aren't as many girls who play football, unfortunately. But yeah, I've enjoyed it, and netball's probably the most popular sport. We have it on a Wednesday, and pretty much everyone goes.
And are there social events combined with football? Like, do you have sports dinners or crew dates or anything like that?
Yeah, we had a football formal. There tend to be more with some of the bigger sports where more people are involved. There are loads of netball socials, for example. Yeah.
And you were talking earlier about Christchurch Meadow. What kind of things might you expect, I don't know, to find in Christchurch Meadow? Like, do people go, can you play sport there, or is it more recreational kind of space?
It's more recreational, but if you walk down the meadows, you can go to the boathouse. You might even see some people rowing, which is obviously quite convenient if you like rowing. And yeah, I normally just go for walks or runs. There are some swans, things like that.
And how does your JCR work at Christchurch? Like, do you have different student positions within it? Do you have meetings, things like that?
Yeah, so the JCR stands for Junior Common Room, and that means the room that we have as a social space, but also the body of students. And as part of that body of students, we have the JCR committee. So they're elected or appointed representatives for specific things. So we have the president, vice president, things like that, but also different positions for different roles, such as, so I'm the access rep, for example. My friend Viren is ethnic and religious minorities rep. There's a food rep. There's even a tortoise rep.
Is there?
So
what does the tortoise rep do?
Think of it, there probably is. So we have a college tortoise called Sam Brass, I think, and they're responsible for like looking after him. You don't really have to do much because he's in hibernation most of the year, but we race him in Trinity.
And what have you done as, like, what does being access rep entail? Have you enjoyed the position?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. So essentially it's helping people from an underprivileged or minority background get more information about Oxbridge in general, but specifically Christchurch. So during term time, I do things like tours, Q&As. Obviously, that's been made a little more difficult this term, but we've still held events online. We set up a chat to a student function on the Christchurch website where prospective students can talk to current Christchurch students in a safe way. Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's really rewarding.
And do you have JCR meetings where even if you're not, like, you on the committee, you can, I don't know, propose a motion or something like that?
So twice a term we have general meetings. Everyone can come and people submit motions in advance and we vote. They argue for it and we vote on it.
So what kind of things might people propose as a motion?
In the past, there's been a lot of requests for funds if you say are running a publication. So if you're running a newspaper and you need money to print or whatever. Other motions have included, one was to reduce the amount of red meat we consume in Hall. So it can be serious or it can be funny. Like one of them was to declare war on Wadham. Obviously we're not actually at war with Wadham, but it's just funny.
How come Wadham specifically?
I was honestly very confused throughout that whole meeting. But I think there was going to be a tug of war with us and Wadham to resolve it.
And just going back to our conversation about food, obviously it sounds like you've got a lot of really good food on offer in the dining hall, but if you wanted to prepare your own food, is there other facilities to do that at Christchurch?
So we don't have kitchens, so technically no, but you do have access to a tea point where you have a microwave and a toaster, and you can get quite creative with those. I definitely have, and managed to make smoked salmon, poached eggs, and avocado on toast.
That's really impressive. Wait, poached egg in a microwave?
It wasn't a microwave.
Yeah.
And then also in second year, you have the opportunity to live in an accommodation block, which is slightly out of college, called Liddell, and there you have kitchens. So you can get the full student experience, just maybe not every year.
And so you live on site for your first year, and then off site, but still in college owned accommodation after that?
So only some people, some students will live on sites for all years of their degree because accommodation is guaranteed. It's just if you want to choose to live in Liddell, you can, and it's still college owned, as you say. So you don't have to worry about getting a house or anything.
And you're saying that there are some benefits of being at one of the wealthier colleges. Are there any grants or scholarships or bursaries available? I know travel grants and things like that at Christchurch.
Yeah, there are quite a lot of grants and scholarships available. For example, there's the hardship grant if your financial situation is precarious or whatever. There's also travel grants up to I think £300. But they're quite generous. Like it doesn't have to be relevant to your subject. You kind of, yeah. There's also a book grant, £330 to claim for your whole degree. What other grants are there? If you get a scholarship in your first year, you get £300. So yeah, there is a lot of money available, which makes living at Oxford affordable.
And in your surrounding area, are there pubs and restaurants or cafes that are particularly popular with Christchurch? Like, what's your favourite place? If you were going to go out for a drink or out for a meal, where would you go?
There are a lot of places I'd go. If it's for lunch, maybe Taylor's in the Covered Market. In terms of pubs, maybe the Bear. It's quite near Christchurch, maybe 2-minute walk. Although I do like the White Rabbit. It's a bit of a walk, but yeah.
Yeah, they do really nice pizzas there, I know that.
They do, don't they? What else? I mean, I would eat at the White Rabbit. They do good pizzas.
And I think maybe one of the worries for people about an old college like Christchurch is that it might not be very diverse, maybe in terms of like background, different like, you know, state school versus private school, or kind of maybe LGBTQ like community within college. Would you say that that's that Christchurch is good on supporting students of all kinds of backgrounds or things like that?
I think so. I've met a very diverse range of people, and there are communities for certain groups. So we have LGBT drinks every Tuesday, and that's always quite a big event at Christchurch. Obviously there's a lot of work to be done in Oxford more generally, but I would say that Christchurch is very willing to accept lots of people from different groups and listen to them and what they wanted to see changed.
Yeah, I agree. I think that often the kind of Oxford stereotype is not really, I mean, my experience of Oxford is that it's people from all kinds of different schools and everything. It's not, I think people worry too much that it would be exclusive. But I think most colleges, like you say, they've still got work to do, definitely.
Definitely. I definitely thought Christchurch would be a very private school college, but obviously there are people from a private school there, but it does feel completely like my home.
And have you been able to, like, having friends at other colleges, see like, you know, get a bit more of an insight into other colleges? Like, what would you say the most the college that's most different from Christchurch, if you could think of one?
I haven't seen loads of colleges, but just from the general reputation, probably Wadham, I think. Wadham or LMH. But honestly, I genuinely think all the colleges at Oxford are more similar than they are different, and the stereotypes don't really help show that, but I do think it's true.
Yeah. What would be the stereotype of Wadham or LMH? I'm at LMH, so I can confirm whether it's
Sort of very liberal, left wing. I don't really know, but.
And what's your like obviously I'm sure you like a lot of things about Christchurch, but what's your kind of one specific favorite thing that makes it unique from other colleges?
That's such a hard question. Again, I don't really know about the other colleges because that's what Christchurch is all I've experienced, but I love how we can have such a grand sort of environment but still have such a close community, and that's something a lot of people wouldn't expect.
And within that community, do you spend time just with your year, or are you able to mix with older years as well?
Definitely. I have some really close friends in older years. That's something I've really loved this year.
And do you have a college family?
Yeah. So my college mum does French, half of my subject, and my college dad does psychology. So that was quite a good way of meeting people in older years.
And have you had kind of family events throughout the year?
Yeah, so we had the family formal in Freshers Week, but also I've met my mum a few times just to catch up, and then we had another family formal in Hillary, just an informal one. We just decided to. We might have seen each other in Trinity, but obviously that was remote.
Yeah. And so obviously you've got your college family. Let's say you wanted to talk to a member of staff, you were struggling with, I don't know, academic work or something like that, who is available to talk to at Christchurch?
So you could go to the welfare team, the peer supporters, or our welfare coordinator, Claire. I would like to think that all tutors would be willing to talk to people if they're struggling, but and in fact we have a designated personal tutor. I actually did end up going to my personal tutor in Michaelmas because I do joint honours and a lot of my work clashed, so basically she had to sort it out for me, but yeah, that was really helpful. If you don't want to go to your tutor, you can go to, I can't remember his name, but there's a welfare tutor, or the academic office if it's an academic concern. So yeah, there are a lot of people you can go to.
And has there been, you're saying that you're a member of Law Society, that's probably an Oxford-wide thing, but does Christchurch, do you feel as though you've got support for looking forward towards kind of your career and what will happen after you leave university?
Yeah. So it hasn't really been on my mind too much in first year, but we do have the Christchurch Development Office, and they're really keen to give people careers advice and support. I know some people that have got on internships through there. It's probably something I'll make more use of next year.
Yeah. And okay, final question. What are you most looking forward to about going back to college when we're allowed to go back in October?
Just seeing everyone again. I've missed everyone so much, and I've been lucky enough to see some uni friends this summer, but there's so many people that I just wouldn't be able to see because I don't know, they live across the world or whatever. So yeah, I think that'll be really nice.
Yeah, definitely nice to see everyone not over computer screens.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me about Christchurch. It's been really helpful, so thank you.
No problem.